This podcast is sponsored by Talkspace. You know when you're really stressed or not feeling so great about your life or about yourself? Talking to someone who understands can really help. But who is that person? How do you find them? Where do you even start? Talkspace. Talkspace makes it easy to get the support you need. With Talkspace, you can go online, answer a few questions about your preferences, and be matched with a therapist. And because you'll meet your therapist online, you don't have to take time off work or arrange childcare. You'll meet on your schedule, wherever you feel most at ease. If you're depressed, stressed, struggling with a relationship, or if you want some counseling for you and your partner, or just need a little extra one-on-one support, Talkspace is here for you. Plus, Talkspace works with most major insurers, and most insured members have a $0 copay. No insurance? No problem. Now get $80 off of your first month with promo code SPACE80 when you go to Talkspace.com. Match with a licensed therapist today at Talkspace.com. Save $80 with code SPACE80 at Talkspace.com.
Ryan Seacrest here. When you have a busy schedule, it's important to maximize your downtime. One of the best ways to do that is by going to ChumbaCasino.com. Chumba Casino has all your favorite social casino games like spin slots, bingo, and solitaire that you can play for free for a chance to redeem some serious prizes. So hop on to ChumbaCasino.com now and live the Chumba life. Sponsored by Chumba Casino. No purchase necessary. VGW Group. Void where prohibited by law. 18 plus terms and conditions apply.
Now, The Hunt Palmer Show.
Waiting to rise again.
You're listening to The Hunt Palmer Show. Brought to you by Corks, Cajun Fried Fish and Shrimp on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
This is the moment you've all been waiting for.
Locking down the middle of the day. Live from the Mercedes-Benz of Baton Rouge studio. This is Hunt Palmer.
Hour 2, Friday edition of the Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Corks, Cajun Fried Fish and Shrimp. Saints and Raiders from the Dome coming up on Sunday. We'll talk about it coming up next. But start this segment with another Sunday action. It's basketball on the floor at the PMAC. It'll be LSU and the Delta Devils of Mississippi Valley State University. I got some things to tell you about the Delta Devils, and none of them are overly glowing. This is a team that is ranked dead freaking last in the net. Dead last. You look back at their last 3 outings. They went up to Tulsa to play the Golden Hurricane. They lost that game 93-48. That is a 45-point beatdown at the hands of Tulsa. 3 days prior, they were in Denton, Texas to play North Texas, and they lost 83-42. That is a 41-point loss to North Texas. They went to Liberty a week before that. They lost 89-52. That is a 37-point loss. The only 2 wins that Mississippi Valley State had registered this year are against Oakwood University. I looked it up. It's in Huntsville. They won that game 91-71. They also beat Mississippi University for women. This is a school that Will Wade's McNeese team played last year. Apparently when it opened, it was an all-women's school, and now it's not. It's co-ed. They just still call it Mississippi University for women. But they did win that game 66-49. But they have not played anybody else within 30 points. Iowa State beat them by 39. Texas beat them by 46. Missouri beat this team by 72 points. 72. 111-39. I just had to click the box score to see what that must have looked like in that game, and it looks about like you would think. Missouri outscored them 51-19 in the first half, and then 60-20 in the second half. Mississippi Valley State was 1 of 10 from three-point range in that game. They turned the ball over 23 times against Missouri. Meanwhile, the Tigers of Missouri shot nearly 50% from three in that game and had 15 steals. So the Delta Devils are not great. That kind of goes without saying. But I do think that we still have to talk about this LSU basketball team and kind of what needs to be accomplished. And you're going to hear a lot of the same things from me that I've been saying for the last 2 weeks. And I think right now for me and LSU, it comes down to like two main factors. There are other things that we can talk about, but it's basically two main factors for this basketball team that have got to be cleaned up. They've got to do a way better job on the defensive glass. They are giving up too many offensive rebounds. They've been better of late. They were very good in the Stetson game. They only allowed 7 offensive rebounds against the Stetson team that couldn't throw it in the ocean. They missed their first 16 shots in that game. And LSU did a better job in that game on the glass, but they've got to continue to do that. They also have to shoot the three better. Like, this is a non-negotiable at this point. LSU is not shooting the ball from three-point range well enough to win enough games. Like, I think they're going to be up against it often in SEC play, and if you don't shoot it, then it becomes worse. And you've got Cam Carter at this point who is shooting the lights out. He's been fantastic to this point. Cam Carter has shot, I'm looking for the number here. I've got it written down somewhere. It is, I can't find it. But I do see that you're talking about Jai Bailey is not going to be a great shooter. He's shooting 25% from three. Jordan Sears shot 43% from three-point range last year. He's at 36%. So he's 7 or 8 points off of his average. Jalen Reed last year shot 42% from three. He's not playing, and Damian Collins and Corey Chest can't help you from the three. Also, Victorious Miller and Curtis Givens, who are seeing extended minutes, they're combined 16 for 88 from three. Right now, LSU is shooting 32% from the three-point line. That has to pull up at SEC play to 36 or 37%, I think, because modern basketball requires that you make threes. And when you couple that with the fact that LSU does not have a low post option to throw the ball to consistently to initiate offense, whether that's to draw a double team or to go to work, you're not going to do that with Damian Collins. You're not going to do that with Corey Chest. Those guys are athletic. They can get on the offensive glass. They can help you around the rim, catching lobs in the pick and roll game, but they're not low post scoring threats. So you've got a defense that doesn't have to respect that, and now is not having to respect your three-point shooting because you're not doing a great job. Well, now you're making defense too easy. You're making defense too easy. So they've got to get a bump from some of these guys. You're not going to get a bump from Cam Carter, who's shooting over 40%, but you've got to have Jordan Sears pull up that 36% to closer to what he was last year, which was 43%. You've got to have Jai Bailey shoot it a little bit more consistently. And then Curtis Givens and Victorious Miller need to shoot it better. The good news is Victorious Miller is shooting it better of late. He made 7 threes in his last 2 games. He's shooting it a little bit better. Givens has been disappointing from a shooting perspective. It's hard to tell how good a shooters guys are when they commit and you check out the highlights on YouTube because you don't miss a lot of shots on a highlight tape. So it's hard to tell how good guys shoot it. Givens needs to shoot it a little bit better. I'm not asking him to be a 45% three-point shooter, but he's got to do better than he has. And right now, Victorious Miller and, as I mentioned, Givens are 16 for 88 from deep. That's got to improve. So shooting is one thing that I've got to see, and we'll see what they can do in this game on Sunday. I mentioned the backboards as well. You're 242nd in the country in defensive rebounding percentage. You've got to clean that up. LSU's defensive efficiency numbers are actually good. They're 32nd in the country in defensive efficiency. That's great, but you've got to get to the other end of the floor. You've got to rebound it. And you allowed some teams early on in your schedule to really hurt you on the glass, and these teams in the SEC are relentless. A&M leads the country in offensive rebounding. Auburn's really good on the offensive glass. Every team Rick Barnes trots out there in Knoxville can go get it off the glass. Calipari's always going to have a bunch of long, athletic dudes in the front court that can rebound. If you don't match up with those guys down there and get to the glass, like, you don't have a chance. So I'm not going to give you a bill of goods here about what LSU needs to improve in the game against Mississippi Valley State. I think I made the point very clear. This team is pathetic. It is probably the worst team in Division I. So I don't care what the scoreboard says. I don't care if you have a clunky 8 minutes of action. Like, it's going to be another sleepy crowd on a Sunday, nobody in the building, awful opponent, no name brand. Like, you're going to have to bring your own juice. But the good news for LSU is you shouldn't be threatened, because this team can't threaten, Tulsa or North Texas. They're not going to come in here and threaten LSU. But it's your last time to get tuned up, because after this, it gets real. And you know this, and we're not going to rehash this over and over and over again. We'll talk about Vanderbilt when we get to Vanderbilt next week. But this is your last opportunity. You basically got 2 weeks to practice for Vanderbilt because you've got you had this week where you didn't have a game to prepare for, and you don't have a midweek game next week. And you get ready for Vanderbilt, and you got to come out swinging in that game. So it'll be LSU and the Mississippi Valley State Delta Devils on Sunday. You can catch it streaming on ESPN+. If you're looking for our Hoops content, you can find it on wherever you find your podcast. The old Hoops with Hunt feed is up and cooking. If you listened to Hoops with Hunt in the past, we appreciate that. But all our basketball segments from this show are archived right there at Hoops with Hunt. It's not new. It's not daily. But whenever we talk basketball, it gets uploaded there to Hoops with Hunt, so you can check that out wherever you find your podcast. Our Friday show is brought to you by Corks, Cajun Fried Fish, and Shrimp. We'll come back, talk some Saints and Raiders. That's coming up next.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
Audio Video Security Solutions, avssla.com is the website. I'll give you a personal story here from the folks at Audio Video Security Solutions. We asked Myers to go open the front door. It was locked. And he walked up to it, turned the lock, and walked out. That gave Alyssa the heebie-jeebies. He didn't do it on his own, but he showed he had the capability. And that made Alyssa nervous for when she's home alone with him and she is back there getting ready for something or whatever, and he could theoretically walk out of the house. So she wanted to get a new security system sensor put there on the front door and then have it echo in our bedroom. We're going to put a keypad in the bedroom so that if the door opens, it says front door open, and Alyssa knows that he may have done that. So she called Audio Video Security Solutions, and they came in and put in a brand new keypad right there in our bedroom. It was seamless. It was easy. They did it the next day. It was fantastic. From an installation perspective, the customer service is second to none with Audio Video Security Solutions. And it starts with Mitchell Fisher, who's the owner of the company. This is his cell phone number, 225-439-7920. When you're talking about security systems, it's really important, and it's really important to myself and certainly to my wife. She wanted to make that happen at Mitchell Fisher and the team at AVSS, knocked it out in a day. They're awesome to work with, and we certainly do over at the Palmer House. Check them out online, avssla.com. It's Audio Video Security Solutions, avssla.com.
You're listening to The Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Corks, Cajun Fried Fish, and Shrimp.
All right, so by now, if you've listened to enough Fridays, you know that at the bottom of the hour, in the first hour on Fridays, I get you ready for the NFL slate to come, and I put them in tiers, 4 being the worst, 1 being the best. If I was going to put the Raiders and Saints in a tier, very clearly this would be a tier 4 football game. You're talking about a couple of teams that have been eliminated from playoff contention. You're talking about a matchup of starting quarterbacks that's very likely going to be Aiden O'Connell against Spencer Rattler. These teams are combined 8-22. There's just not a lot of juice here. The Saints have already fired their coach. The Raiders have hired an interim coach who I don't know if he's going to be there after one full season as the head coach. It's just it's not a game with a lot of meat on the bone. Brock Bowers could set a rookie record. Mike Ditka's 1961 single-season receiving yardage record by rookie tight ends was 1,076, and he may get there.
ET is Ryan Seacrest here. People always say it's good to unwind, but that's easier said than done. The exception, Chumba Casino. They actually make it easier done than said, or at least the same. Chumba Casino is an online social casino with hundreds of casino-style games like slots and blackjack. Play for fun. Play for free for your chance to redeem some serious prizes. Sign up now and collect your free welcome bonus at ChumbaCasino.com. Sponsored by Chumba Casino. No purchase necessary. VGW Group. Void where prohibited by law. 18 plus terms and conditions apply.
Recently, a new client called me and started by saying, "Mr. Morgan, I really need your help, but I'm just a nobody." Those words stunned me, and I immediately called him back. And we're now helping him and his family after a terrible accident. I'm John Morgan of Morgan & Morgan. Everybody who comes to our firm at their time of need is a somebody. I grew up poor, but my grandmother was like a queen to us. At Morgan & Morgan, our goal is to level the playing field for you and your family at your time of need. The insurance company has unlimited money and resources. You need a firm who can fight them toe-to-toe. For right at 30 years, we have fought them in courtrooms throughout America. Our results speak for themselves. And always remember this: everybody is a somebody, and nobody is a nobody. Visit forthepeople.com to learn about our firm. Morgan & Morgan, for the people.
Injured? Visit forthepeople.com for an office near you.
But that's really it. The Raiders are favored by a point. And as I was looking at this game and kind of thinking about, okay, what's the Saints' angle here? I really can't sell you Spencer Rattler anymore. I told you that it was interesting for the first couple of weeks. That was really disheartening in Green Bay. I don't know how else to say it. You're talking about a Monday Night Football opportunity with a reasonable offensive line in front of you, and Rattler couldn't produce anything. They couldn't move the football. They couldn't produce points. It was just a kind of a mess. And he shows you the highlight reel throw when he jump throws and fires a laser in there. And the next one, he doesn't see his zone corner bailing on a concept, and he throws it right into the numbers, and it's an interception. I think the likelihood that Spencer Rattler is the Saints' next franchise quarterback is microscopic. It just doesn't look that way. And that's always generally going to be the case. Like, you don't see a lot of quarterbacks drafted on day 2 or 3 of the NFL draft that make it. Yes, every once in a while Brock Purdy shows up. Yes, every once in a while Jalen Hurts can be a league MVP type guy. It wasn't a first-round pick. Yeah, there are some instances where that happens. Kirk Cousins is thrown for bajillion yards. But far more often than not, the quarterback comes from the top 15, 18 picks. That's where starting quarterbacks are taken. Just look around the NFL. I mean, it's almost unanimous. You look at a game where the Chargers are playing I'm just looking at the schedule for this week with no read. Like, the Chargers are playing the Patriots tomorrow. Those guys were high picks, Drake May and Justin Herbert. You look at the Broncos and the Bengals. Bo Nix, high pick. Joe Burrow, first pick. The next game on this list is Cardinals and Rams. Matt Stafford was the first pick in the draft. Kyler Murray, first pick in the draft. Like, those guys go really, really early. You got, Dak Prescott would be the Cowboys quarterback, and that certainly applies there, and Jalen Hurts for the Eagles. But then you go to the next game is Jets and Bills. Aaron Rodgers, first-round pick, and Josh Allen was a first-round pick. Like, that's just where the quarterbacks – I was just going down chronological scoreboard here on ESPN.com. And the Saints haven't done that. And they've tried to find some guys here and there, whether it's Ian Book and Jake Haener and now Spencer Rattler, and I just don't know that it's going to work. Now, Derek Carr was a first-round pick, and you traded for him, and that's fine if that was the move you're going to make, but we kind of know what that is now, and he's not available, so you're looking towards the future. And I just don't know that Spencer Rattler or Jake Haener offers that. I think there is reason to believe that they could be a serviceable backup quarterback. I would trust Rattler more than I would Haener because there's a little bit of upside there. But, again, I don't mean to boil an entire player's career down to 60 minutes of football in Green Bay, but we've now seen him for, periods of 4 or 5 games. I just don't see a lot. And so, again, Peyton Manning set the rookie record for interceptions his first season, and we know how that turned out. I'm not saying that you've got to immediately come in and set the world on fire, but I don't feel like he's going to be an answer. So I can't look at this game and sell you that bill of goods. I think where I'm at now as far as interesting storylines for this game with the Saints and the Raiders, I'm still with Kendre Miller. Like, he has shown some flashes, and I just feel like if you're going to ask Alvin Kamara to shoulder the biggest workload in the NFL, which he did for the first month and a half of this season. He led the NFL in touches. At this age, this is the result you're going to get. He's hurt, and he's been hurt all year. He's playing with banged up ribs, and he got hurt. Like, you can't ask a guy who's taken that many hits over his career to continue to be the workhorse and the guy that's shouldering the biggest load in the NFL. You've got to get Kendre Miller and Jamal Williams involved. Kendre Miller is young, he is cheap, he is talented, and he has a lot of tread on his tires. He wasn't overworked at TCU. He certainly hadn't been overworked in 2 years at the Saints. He's been hurt the whole time. So I'm looking at Kendre Miller as a guy that I need to see kind of step up, and this is a chance for him to do that. The Saints are obviously going to try to run the football with a young quarterback out there. They're going to try to establish that early and often. They're going to run that outside zone, which they really like to run. And I'm looking at this preview piece on ESPN.com, and it says the Saints run outside zone 61% of the time. That's the second most in the NFL. And the Raiders are 14th in EPA allowed per design carry overall, but it gets worse when facing outside zone. That's 23rd in the NFL. So this should be a decent matchup for the Saints running game. The Raiders don't stop outside zone well. The Saints run it as much as anybody in the NFL. You've got your offensive line reasonably healthy, and you've got a running back that you feel like you need to feature and get a better look at as he moves through his second professional season. So as I try to look at this and find the interesting storyline, to me, it feels like Kendre Miller is that. I've talked to you about Alontae Taylor and Kool-Aid McKinstry. Those guys have had their peaks and valleys for sure in this new since Adebo went down and Lattimore was traded. We've talked about Penning and Fuaga. We've talked about kind of developing these wide receivers. You don't get a chance to see Bub Means, who is on IR and is out for the rest of the season. So there are places you can look to, but the fact of the matter is, you look at this roster, a lot of it is going to have to be turned over for the next great Saints team. You hear me say that all the time. Like, is this guy ticketed for the next great Saints team? And then you look at players like Cam Jordan, Demario Davis, Tyrann Mathieu. My answer is no. I don't think they're on the next great Saints team. I don't think Derek Carr is on the next great Saints team. But I could suggest that the two corners, the two tackles, Kendre Miller, some of those guys could be on the next great Saints team. So those are the guys I'm focused on. Those are the guys I'm looking at in these games that are essentially meaningless. Jordan, you said you've checked out in the first hour. I'll take your word for that, but I still think you're probably going to watch this game on Sunday. Yeah, is there anything that you find particularly interesting in this game that I may not be hitting on? I looked. I'm trying.
It's not much to look at, unfortunately.
Do you want the Saints to lose?
Oh, of course.
Okay.
I mean, yes. To be real, you're going to watch both teams try to lose this game. Saints might try to give a little bit more.
I don't know. Antonio Pierce might want that job, and I know Darren Rizzi does too. Man. I think that there's going to have to be something truly special that went on to have Darren Rizzi keep that job. Beating Atlanta is not truly special, and then certainly getting annihilated by Green Bay doesn't help. I think they'll look elsewhere. Yeah, but those two guys are probably fighting for their jobs.
Yeah, I think Antonio Pierce has been on borrowed time, especially that the Raiders are they ended up winning last week and messed all the draft where they were supposed to be at. So I can't be like, oh, they're going to have a top 3 pick. So, but, okay, I get it. Rattler hasn't shown anything. But, I mean, you're giving them salt and pepper and trying to make something that doesn't involve salt and pepper. Like, you're giving them lettuce, but this guy doesn't eat vegetables. Like, look at his receivers.
It's bad.
Come on, man. Hunt, they're one injury away from them calling me and you up to come get some snaps in our receiver.
I don't have much breakaway speed. I really don't take the top off the defense well.
Who has breakaway speed we have out there right now?
MVS.
He was sick, and then he shows up sick.
He was sick.
Then he was sick. So it's like, yes, I get it. Ryler,
he was sick.
Yeah, you shut out first team to get shut out this season. Terrible. The team looked cold. All right, let's call up spade a spade. The team just looked cold. Nobody wanted to tackle Josh Jacobs. But, like, Rattler, he's a fifth-round
You still
pick.
feel like he's got a chance to be the Saints franchise quarterback?
I ain't going to say franchise, but I really feel like we haven't got a chance to really see what he can do. When he first started, the line was decimated.
Yes.
Now he's come back. The line is intact. The receiver core decimated.
Gone.
So it's like you give him an O-line, take away the receivers. You give him some receivers, take away the O-line. It's a revolving door right now. So there's no stability. I'll say that. It's hard for him to be great when there's no stability.
I just I need you to score some points. I need not a bagel. And I tried. Like last week, I was like, all right, I really want to see Spencer Rattler. This is a good opportunity. He's had time to game plan, and you've got an offensive line that's kind of come together. Okay, see if you see if you can run the ball and see if Rattler can operate. He's had 3 starts, all fewer than 175 passing yards.
Yeah.
The Saints, if he doesn't reach 175 passing yards on Sunday, he will be the first Saints quarterback to go 4 straight games without 175 passing yards since Steve Walsh in 1990.
Yeah,
Shout out to ESPN research for that one.
Extremely long time ago.
I was 2 when Steve was slinging it around for not very many yards for the Saints. So it's rough. Alvin Kamara, the groin injury is very much touch and go. I just don't think Derek Carr is going to play in this game. I know he would like to play in this game against the Raiders, and I fully expect him to play in the finale in Tampa. I fully expect him to play, even though it doesn't make any sense because that's just the way he's wired. I respect it. I don't get it. But you're not going to see him, I don't think, in this game. You just can't go out there with a broken hand. So, again, we'll see probably a sleepy environment in the Superdome. Not a lot of juice in this one. But we'll see. I hope I'm wrong. And Spencer Rattler goes out there and throws for 325, and I can go, hey, that was something to build off of. And you're playing a bad team, so it's certainly possible. But I will not be putting any sense on Spencer Rattler over the passing total at this point. So Saints and Raiders noon in, I believe it's at noon. Noon on in the Dome on Fox. Yeah, they're not going to flex that one to the
That's not prime time.
to the big window. But the NFL has just taken over the weekend schedule. Wednesday, Thursday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday. You're getting NFL football. Last night, that game, not good. Bears, not a great football team. That's the understatement of the day. But the Saints and Raiders will go at it at noon. Yeah, what you got?
Ryan Seacrest here. When you have a busy schedule, it's important to maximize your downtime. One of the best ways to do that is by going to ChumbaCasino.com. Chumba Casino has all your favorite social casino games like spin slots, bingo, and solitaire that you can play for free for a chance to redeem some serious prizes. So hop on to ChumbaCasino.com now and live the Chumba life. Sponsored by Chumba Casino. No purchase necessary. VGW Group. Void where prohibited by law. 18 plus terms and conditions apply.
Recently, a new client called me and started by saying, Mr. Morgan, I really need your help, but I'm just a nobody. Those words stunned me, and I immediately called him back, and we're now helping him and his family after a terrible accident. I'm John Morgan of Morgan & Morgan. Everybody who comes to our firm at their time of need is a somebody. I grew up poor, but my grandmother was like a queen to us. At Morgan & Morgan, our goal is to level the playing field for you and your family at your time of need. The insurance company has unlimited money and resources. You need a firm who can fight them toe-to-toe. For right at 30 years, we have fought them in courtrooms throughout America. Our results speak for themselves. And always remember this, everybody is a somebody, and nobody is a nobody. Visit forthepeople.com to learn about our firm, Morgan & Morgan, for the people.
Injured? Visit forthepeople.com for an office near you.
Who do you think will win right now, the Bears or the Saints?
With Rattler?
With Rattler versus Caleb Williams right now. Because you can't say Caleb has shown much.
No, he hasn't. I would say the Saints would win.
Okay. I
mean, the Saints have shown a pulse.
Yes.
The Saints have won. I mean, Rizzi's won, 3 games?
Yeah, more than Dennis Allen.
So, yeah. So, I mean, the Bears haven't won since, like, September. I mean, they're just awful. And you know this. Like, I've talked about this on the air a bunch. Like, I got a lot of Bears crossover on my social medias because of my Cubs following. And they are just crestfallen in Chicago. They really believed this year.
Was the year.
They bring in Caleb Williams. You got Keenan Allen. You got DJ Moore. You draft Rome Odunze. You got Cole Kmet at tight end, who's a good player. The Bears always have a good defense, and that you're just going to plug Caleb in, and they're going to be good. And I bought into it, and they stink. And their players hate playing. Their offensive line is atrocious. Caleb Williams has no idea what to say in post-game interviews. They haven't won in 2 months. It is a tough scene there at Hallis Hall for the Bears. The Saints have at least shown some fight and won some games.
I appreciate that. As long as you got us in that one, that's all that matters.
They would beat the. How many teams do I think the Saints would currently beat at this point? I would take. They beat Cleveland. I would take them over.
Jaguars?
I would take them over the Jaguars. I would take them over the Titans.
Okay.
I would take them over the Giants and Browns, who they beat. So they're not the dregs of the league. They looked awful on Monday. Yeah. They're not in the bottom 4, but they're pushing. They're pushing it. So we'll see.
Knocking on the door.
I'll be watching LSU and Mississippi Valley State play basketball during that game on Sunday. So
respectfully.
I don't know who's winning in that situation, but that's just the reality of the situation. All right, let's step aside. We'll come back, and we got 30 minutes left to go in our abbreviated work week. It's the Hunt Palmer Show.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
Boudreaux's Electrical Services. How about a little peace of mind? Peace of mind is a powerful, powerful thing. Give yourself the peace of mind to know the power is never going to go out at your home or your business. If you're a commercial property owner or business owner, and you'd like to get that Generac generator put in, they can do it for you over at Boudreaux's Electrical. Neil and Melissa have been doing this for 4 decades. You've been doing something for 4 decades, you know what you're doing, and they certainly do at Boudreaux's Electrical. They've got the same phone number they had for 40 years. Down there in Napoleonville, 985-397-1562. Again, 985-397-1562. But they've got the new location in Gonzales, 225-300-9389. You can give them a call there. I'll give you the easy way each and every day, as well as BoudreauxElectrical.com. Get that Generac home standby generator put in now. We always know there's another hurricane that's coming. We all know these summer storms that blow through at 3 o'clock in the afternoon that can be pretty powerful and can be a nuisance and knock your power out for 3 hours. Don't have that happen. Have that Generac home standby generator installed at your home or office today. Check them out online, boudreauxelectrical.com, boudreauxelectrical.com.
This is the Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Corks, Cajun fried fish and shrimp.
All right, we got a final from Fort Worth, Texas in the Lockheed Martin Armed Forces Bowl. Navy 21, Oklahoma 20. Navy scored a touchdown to go up 7 points with about 5 minutes to play. Oklahoma drove it down, and with 6 seconds to play in the game, scored a touchdown. And Brent Venables said, hey, we're not playing for a tie here in the Lockheed Martin Armed Forces Bowl. We're going for the win. And I just watched the 2-point play, snapped it in the shotgun. Michael Hawkins Jr. looking, didn't have anywhere to go, tried to get out of the pocket, and was brought down in the backfield to thwart that conversion opportunity and seal the game for Navy. The midshipmen go to 10-3. Oklahoma 6-7 on the season. Here's the deal. I'm reading Brandon Drum's Twitter. And Brandon came on the show, great guy, and I enjoyed our discussions as LSU played Oklahoma in the season finale. But I just don't know that I agree with some of his takes on the result of this game. I'm pulling up his Twitter right now, and he says something has to change and change quickly. Loss is embarrassing. It just is for a program like OU to be 6-7 again. It's just unacceptable. Don't even know where to start with how this game and season went down. The Cheez-It Bowl in 2022 felt like a win and built the 2023 momentum. This feels like the complete opposite. Hope I am proven wrong. Okay. So he's suggesting that losing to Navy in this game is completely embarrassing and really cuts the legs out from under you as a program. And I sit here, and I don't know Oklahoma's personnel. Certainly, we previewed the Sooners leading up to LSU's game with Oklahoma, and certainly I understand a couple of situations because they hit locally. But like this Oklahoma team that took the field against Navy today did not have Jackson Arnold at starting quarterback, who is in the transfer portal. Did not have Nick Anderson, who plays for LSU. Did not have Bauer Sharp, who plays for LSU. There are significant losses to the roster, and you don't have your team. So I don't care if you lost to Navy. Just like I wouldn't care if they beat Navy by 30. I don't think it is any indication of where your program is. The indication of where your program is, to me, is who you got out of the transfer portal over the last 3 weeks. I don't care if you lost to Navy in the Lockheed Martin Armed Forces Bowl. And that's kind of the point that I'm making here when I preview LSU and Baylor and talk about some of these bowl games as we move forward. I'm confident, certainly can't say I'm certain, but I'm confident that Oklahoma probably played this game without 5 or 6 starters. Well, that's a big deal. And you can say, well, you got to build depth and you got to have the next man up mentality. Have you looked at the portal? The guys who don't start transfer. So the next man up usually isn't even there. I can't put an indictment on the entire program based on this game. Now, if you want me to talk about Oklahoma football big picture, I would tell you that I don't think Brent Venables is going to get this done. You're talking about an Oklahoma team that next year on its schedule is going to have to go to Neyland Stadium in Knoxville. They're going to have to play Texas away from home. They welcome LSU and Ole Miss up to Norman. They've got to go to Tuscaloosa and play. Like, it doesn't get any easier. It's hard. And I don't think their roster is there from a talent perspective, and I don't sense that it's moving in that direction. In fact, I think the opposite. I think losing some of your best talent at wide receiver is counterproductive. So I'm betting against Brent Venables, but I don't think it has anything to do with losing to Navy. Just like I don't think LSU's in big trouble if they get beat by 20 points by Baylor on Tuesday. I don't think that Arkansas is in trouble because they go to the Liberty Bowl and lose to Texas Tech later today. I think they're in trouble because they got 30 guys in the transfer portal. It's just there was a time where I could look at these bowl games. I can vividly remember seeing all the SEC Big Ten matchups that would be played in the Gator Bowl and the Citrus Bowl, and you could look around and kind of use that as conference pride. It was a big deal, and somewhere along the last decade, players have decided that the risk of playing in an exhibition game is not worth it, so the best players in the country don't play if it's not the playoff. And then you've got guys who are getting in the transfer portal before the bowl games even start. So I don't know who played tight end for Oklahoma today. Wasn't Bauer Sharp. I know that Oklahoma decided that Jackson Arnold was the best starting quarterback that they had late in the season, and he didn't play today. Michael Hawkins went out there and played. Meanwhile, I'm just going to guess. This is a guess. It's educated, but it's a guess. I bet Navy had a pretty good participation in their bowl game. Something tells me there weren't a lot of guys at the Naval Academy that were opting out. Something tells me not a lot of guys at the Naval Academy who were getting in the portal to see who could run up the bidding on NIL. I know Michael Horvath, their quarterback, played. He had a 95-yard touchdown run against Oklahoma. But that may be the worst team you could draw in a bowl game. If you're a mediocre team like Oklahoma, you're going to face a team that's disciplined and at full strength in Navy. And they still almost won the game. And that's the thing. Like, you say, well, that's an embarrassing loss and just terrible way to end the season. You're now boiling the season down to one snap because they were one completed pass away from beating Navy. And they didn't. So now they've lost, and that's just one play that swung the pendulum. I just can't get on board with that. I realize that Brandon is an OU guy, and he's passionate about it, and I understand that you don't want to lose to Navy. I get it. But look, man, it's a different era, and I just can't conjure up a lot of emotional capital on some of these bowl games. I realize that Arkansas wants to beat Texas Tech and vice versa. I get that A&M wants to beat USC, and you feel like if you're USC, you got to show that you're moving in the right direction, even though you got guys flying out of the transfer portal. And if you're Mike Elko, you're trying to build a foundation at Texas A&M. But let's just be very, very clear about what's abundantly clear, that the biggest result for your football program in December is your portal ads, not your bowl result. I mean, look, we talked about it for years about how we felt like that A&M Cotton Bowl win for LSU for the 2010 season in January of 2011 was like a lifting off point for LSU in that 2011 season. You had young players like Tyrann Mathieu and Harold Simon, Eric Reed making plays, Spencer Ware hitting big runs, and you're like, oh, this is the next wave that's coming, and it was a momentum booster. Now you don't even know who's going to be on the team.
Hey, it is Ryan Seacrest. There's something so thrilling about playing Chumba Casino. Maybe it's the simple reminder that with a little luck, anything is possible. ChumbaCasino.com has hundreds of social casino-style games to choose from with new game releases each week. Play for free anytime, anywhere for your chance to redeem some serious prizes. Join me in the fun. Sign up now at ChumbaCasino.com. Sponsored by Chumba Casino. No purchase necessary. VGW Group. Void where prohibited by law. 18 plus. Terms and conditions apply.
Recently, a new client called me and started by saying, Mr. Morgan, I really need your help, but I'm just a nobody. Those words stunned me, and I immediately called him back, and we're now helping him and his family after a terrible accident. I'm John Morgan of Morgan & Morgan. Everybody who comes to our firm at their time of need is a somebody. I grew up poor, but my grandmother was like a queen to us. At Morgan & Morgan, our goal is to level the playing field for you and your family at your time of need. The insurance company has unlimited money and resources. You need a firm who can fight them toe-to-toe. For right at 30 years, we have fought them in courtrooms throughout America. Our results speak for themselves. And always remember this, everybody is a somebody, and nobody is a nobody. Visit forthepeople.com to learn about our firm. Morgan & Morgan, for the people.
Injured? Visit forthepeople.com for an office near you.
So I can't get that fired up about it. I hope all the SEC teams lose. That to me that's the way I've always watched bowl games. But I just don't think it's that big a deal. Georgia Tech and Vanderbilt are underway. They just started in the Birmingham Bowl. can't miss that one between those two teams. Good proximity for those two teams to Birmingham, Nashville to Birmingham, and Atlanta to Birmingham. Not too far away, so maybe some attendance for that game. Texas Tech and Arkansas at 6 o'clock on ESPN in the Liberty Bowl. And as I mentioned, the nightcap tonight for Southeastern Conference teams, USC and Texas A&M from out in Allegiant Stadium in Las Vegas. Curious just how much A&M shows up in that game. I can't imagine many SC fans at all will go. They were just there 3 months ago, and the team is 6-6 and has got a ton of guys in the portal. A&M at least feels like they really had something going midway through November, and it all fell apart. But they feel like that they may be building towards something good at 8-4. Maybe get a quick flight out there from Houston to Vegas to see the Aggies play USC. We'll see. I'm curious how that looks. And as we know, the SEC teams have already played. Florida beat Tulane 33-8. Texas beat Clemson in the playoff 38-24, and Ohio State beat Tennessee 42-17. Rest of the SEC action is coming Monday, Missouri and Iowa, and then Tuesday, Bama, Michigan, South Carolina, Illinois, of course, LSU and Baylor. Then Wednesday, the SEC teams in the playoff will do battle. That's Texas and Arizona State, and then Notre Dame and Georgia. Ole Miss draws the late slate in this one. They're at January the 2nd in the Gator Bowl against Duke. So that's a look at your SEC teams in bowl games coming up this bowl season. Step aside, come back and close things out. It's a Friday edition of The Hunt Palmer Show.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
Genesis of Baton Rouge. GenesisofBatonRouge.com is the website. They make things so easy for you. It couldn't be easier working with the folks at Genesis of Baton Rouge. You log online, GenesisofBatonRouge.com. You can see every car that they've got on the lot, whether you're looking for the sedan all the way up to the SUV. They're all there online. You can check out the pictures, see pricing, check out all the bells and whistles as well. And if you decide, hey, I'd really like to get behind the wheel of one of these, you don't have to go to the dealership to do it. You can give them a call. They'll have one of their brand ambassadors drive to you, whether that's at work, whether that's at home. They'll take it to you. You can test drive it. You decide, hey, this is what I want to get, what I want to buy. Well, that's awesome. And you don't have to go to the dealership to finish that deal either. They can do e-contracts, digital delivery. And then once you get the car, you got 3 years of complimentary maintenance, and they can do that valet style too. Got one of their brand ambassadors that'll come get your car, leave you a Genesis to drive for the time being. They'll take your car to the dealership. They'll handle your oil change, your wiper fluid, windshield wipers, your air filter, the whole deal. They'll bring it right back to you. You don't have to lift a finger. It's so easy, so convenient. It's just part of the experience of driving a Genesis. They're on Airline Highway at PQ across from Women's Hospital. Get on by and see them here at the end of 2024 to kick off your 2025 and get behind the wheel of one of these great Genesis at Genesis of Baton Rouge. They're online, GenesisofBatonRouge.com, GenesisofBatonRouge.com.
This is the Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Corks, Cajun fried fish and shrimp.
A little bit of breaking news here as we wind down on this Friday edition of the Hunt Palmer Show. We're brought to you by Corks, Cajun fried fish and shrimp. LSU has secured another commitment out of the transfer portal. It is former Northwestern offensive lineman Josh Thompson. Thompson has been the right tackle at Northwestern for the last couple of seasons. He's played in 31 career games. He has started 21 games. He was very much in the mix for Michigan State, Ohio State, Michigan, South Carolina, and Tennessee. It appears LSU won the bidding for Josh Thompson. We knew this was coming. LSU was certainly not done on the offensive line, and they make their push here. You're talking about a guy in Thompson that is 6'4". He's about 300 pounds. And he can probably slide in at right tackle. You've now got a situation where at the left side, you're going to have a competition at this juncture with Tyree Adams and Weston Davis. But you realize that you've probably got 3 spots on your offensive line solidified. Braylon Moore is very likely your starting center. I think it's likely that DJ Chester is a starting guard, and I think it's likely that Josh Thompson is the right tackle. So that might be the right side of your offensive line. And then you tell all these other guys, hey, you're working out for the left, whether it's Tyree Adams, Weston Davis, Cohen Eccles, who I know that they really like. Paul Mabenga certainly showed some flashes, but you're solidifying things with plug-and-play starters on the offensive line. That's a very, very good thing for LSU. They're going to have to be better in the run game this year, and that's what I talked about to open the show. I'm already calling it this year. We have a game to play in 2024. But, yeah, I think this is a big get for LSU because a lot of big-time schools were in the mix, and LSU wins out. So I'll say this. Like, I think LSU is squarely a playoff or bust type situation now. I think you could probably say that at any point in Baton Rouge that you should always get into a 12-team playoff or have that aspiration. I was looking at this roster as of 2 months ago, maybe a month ago, and I was going, look, you may lose Nussmeier. You are looking at a defense that is losing its most impactful edge rushers. Who knows what you've got at defensive tackle. Your leading tackler at linebacker, Greg Penn, is moving on. Your secondary has underperformed pretty much for a couple of years. Like, what are you leaning on here? This doesn't look great. But when you can go into the portal and pull like 9 starters out of the portal, which is what they're probably going to have done, it changes everything. And this is the latest. So if you missed it, you're just jumping in. LSU grabs 6'4", 300-pound offensive tackle Josh Thompson from Northwestern into the fold here on this Friday. So big ad. They've now got 2 starting offensive linemen from the Power 5 in Braylon Moore and Josh Thompson. So let's play some Take It or Leave It.
Take it or leave it.
Take it or leave it.
Today's hottest stories in sports, news, and sometimes even Hunt's life. The question is, will he take them or leave them?
Just take it.
Alrighty then. So Tulane star running back Mekhi Hughes has entered the transfer portal on Friday. 2 seasons as a starter with the Green Wave, earning first-team All-American Athletic Conference honors and back-to-back seasons. He has 2 more seasons of eligibility left. One of the most coveted players in the portal. Take it or leave it.
Yeah, I mean, he's good. He'll take it. I mean, that's you're talking about Tulane having a great go with John Summerall this year, and then all of a sudden you look up and Mensa's gone to Duke, and now your star running back's gone. So it was all Tulane could do to hold on to Summerall as some jobs came open, namely North Carolina, and they did, but some of the players left, and that's when you're a good program at that level, you're a feeder school.
I was going to say that.
You're a feeder school. So that's just the situation. They're uptown at Tulane, so they'll have to find a lot of production from elsewhere.
All right. So Albert Breer of Sports Illustrated reported during the Amazon Prime broadcast of Thursday Night Football that the Bears and Pete Carroll have mutual interests and that a conversation between the two could be happening soon. The 73-year-old is currently serving as an advisor to the Seahawks. Take it or leave it.
I would leave it. I just don't really need to hire a 73-year-old head coach.
Exactly.
I don't mean to be disparaging, and I realize that the professional football is a little bit of a different grind than college football, where you're constantly recruiting and roster building. Pro football, you handle your roster building in the offseason from February through April, and then you get ready to coach football team. But Pete Carroll's youthful. He's exuberant. He's got a ton of energy, and he's been incredibly successful as an NFL head coach. But I would lean more towards a guy who's 45 than 75. That's where my head is.
Especially with a young quarterback, when we just talked about Caleb and his pits and valleys and all that.
Yeah.
So next, last but not least, the 2 leading vote getters for Offensive Rookie of the Year is currently Jaden Daniels and Brian Thomas Jr.
Yep.
Serious issue with that LSU team not making the college football playoffs. Take it or leave it.
I will take it. But they fielded the worst defense in the history of the school. So that's just the way it goes. When you're atrocious on defense, you're not going to win many championships, and LSU was atrocious on defense. So bad stuff. More breaking news. We're with 3 minutes to go. Harold Perkins is coming back. LSU he leased that on social media. He's going to come back and play. So that's another add to LSU's team, and furthers my point that this LSU team is going to be picked by a lot of people to make the college football playoff. You still got to deal with Georgia in the SEC. I don't think Texas is going anywhere immediately. You know that Alabama's going to have a lot of talented players, and we'll see what Ole Miss can do in the portal as well. Vols too, but LSU's going to be in that mix. They've got a lot of talent coming in and some talent now coming back. I think when Brian Kelly said that some guys were coming back, I kind of leaned Emory Jones in that instance, but Harold Perkins is that dude today, and Garrett Nussmeier certainly is a big deal coming back. So big announcement there from LSU. I'm certain that Musso will have a lot more on that. We'll talk about Harold Perkins a ton moving forward, because that's a guy that generated a ton of discussion this year. They didn't really find a way to get him overly involved in what was going on, and then had the ACL injury. So we'll see how he returns. But good news for LSU to get Harold Perkins back in Baton Rouge. So big announcement for the Tigers. All right, this could be my final show. I just been told that my wife has purchased Mega Millions tickets. The jackpot is over $1 billion. So we're talking about the actual payout, $500K in cash. Take taxes out, it'd be about $240 million to me once we win. And I gotta say, if I get $240 million, probably not gonna do the show next week. But we'll see. To be determined. I'll be sure to let y'all know how the drawing goes. My record in the lottery is not strong. I have never won it. I usually buy tickets about twice a year, so that hurts my odds. The fact that I don't buy tickets hurts my odds, and then I just don't ever win. So, but I'm just I wanted y'all to know that it could be my last show if in fact.
Well, you can't tell us that, and we can't get 1,000 or something. You come up with 200-something million.
I think y'all will be compensated if I get $240 million.
Okay,
I don't know how much. I'm not willing to tell you that it's going to be an astronomical amount, but I might get you a gift here or there. I'm going to be in a good mood if I get $240 million bucks. I'll probably have a tea time pretty quickly after that, and it probably won't be in America. So,
respectfully, I do not disagree. Just do not give me a Spencer Rattler jersey. That's all I ask.
I will not do that. I will not do that.
Don't do that. Thank you.
All right, that's it for us. If you missed any of the show, catch it on demand wherever you find your sound. You can search The Hunt Palmer Show. Like, subscribe, rate, and review. Certainly do appreciate it. Certainly on YouTube as well. Hunt on LSU, Hunt on Saints, and of course, Hoops with Hunt as well. Open the show today talking about LSU's offensive line in this game against Baylor coming up and what that's going to look like. I think it's probably the most interesting storyline of this Kinder's Texas Bowl. Preston Guy, TigerBait.com is with us at 1:15. Got you ready for the NFL weekend to come at 1:30. My thoughts on Jim Laranaga's comments and him bailing on his team in the middle of a season at 1:45. Then LSU basketball against Mississippi Valley State. They've won 2 games against schools you've probably never heard of, and when they play the schools you have heard of, it doesn't go well. I don't think it's going to go very well for them on Sunday, but I gave you some things to look for with this LSU basketball team at 2 o'clock. And then certainly we got you ready for Saints Raiders, who will come at you at 1 o'clock or noon on Sunday. So go check that out on demand wherever you find your sound. Hope everybody has a safe and wonderful weekend. Been kind of a weird week, and we got another one coming next week with the game on Tuesday and no show on Wednesday. But overall, I had a great weekend, and check everything out on demand. Musso is going to drive you home on After Further Review. We're back Monday, same time, same place, for another edition of The Hunt Palmer Show.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
Highland Insurance Group, HighlandIG.com is the website. Jonathan Carvo and his team, fantastic to work with from an insurance perspective. They have a core belief over there at the Highland Insurance Group that you should trust your insurance broker the same way you trust your CPA, the same way that you trust your lawyers. When things go poorly, you need somebody in your corner, and that's what insurance is for. I know all we think about is the front end with the premiums, but claims are important. What's covered and how.
It is Ryan Seacrest here. Everybody needs some variety in life. That's what I love about Chumba Casino. They know how to keep things fresh and exciting. All their games are free to play, like spin slots, bingo, and solitaire. You can claim free daily login bonuses, too. And they release new games every week. So spice things up with ChumbaCasino.com now for your chance to redeem some serious prizes. Sponsored by Chumba Casino. No purchase necessary. VGW Group. Void where prohibited by law. 18 plus terms and conditions apply.